Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of That NextGen Planners Podcast. As always, you are joined by me, Amelia Hamilton, Head of Community at NextGen Planners, and my two fabulous co-hosts. Why don't you introduce yourself this time? I feel like let's give it a little, give yourself a little bit of
deep end.
Well, I mean, you can say your name. I don't know how much in the deep end it is to say your name.
I'll kick us off. So I'm Taylor, financial planner. And
I am Clara Metcalf, also financial planner.
There we go. Throw you in the deep, but how did you? Well done for swimming. You were there fine. But it's not just the three of us here today. We've got a brilliant guest, and that is Ian Dempsey. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
Pleasure to have you with us today.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, it's great. I'm looking forward to our conversation. But before we get into all of the many aspects of social media stuff that we're going to talk about today, we have got a question set to you from our last guest. I cannot for the life of me remember a sentence that long. So I'm deferring to my better co-host, Clara Metcalf, who assures me you can remember the whole question.
Give it my best shot.
Go for it.
So what emotion would you like your clients to feel as a result of working with you?
Great question. I don't know if I can pin it down to an emotion, but I think probably a feeling. Like and it's taken a long time to get to this point. I'd like every client to come out of that first meeting, like the full fact find, if you like, to feel like that's very different. And that's the guy I want to work with. And that's taken a long time to get to that point. And a lot of that's come from like confidence, trial and error, trying things that work, trying things that don't. And I think that's a general theme of like the feedback I get from clients. Like that's very different. That was chalk and cheese. Or if they've got an existing advisor, they're not being serviced properly. It's like, wow, sign me up.
Yeah. What about you guys? Before we move on, what would you say?
I would say for me, comfort. I tend to, I don't know why, but I tend to get a lot of clients that come to me in periods of transition or distress and comfort. So comfort with what they've agreed and what they've planned.
I think it's the same. It's like the reassurance.
Reassurance, that's a better word. Yeah,
feeling like you're with a safe pair of hands, or somebody who's not there to judge you, and someone who can kind of empathize with you, even if they can't necessarily.
I get that quite a lot from clients. They say, "Oh, I love it because you don't judge." I'm like, "Well, I'm not here to judge." So yeah, non-judgmental. All of those
done
things.
What with your money? Yeah. You idiot! Get out of here.
Because sometimes they'll say things, won't they, that they know doesn't make financial sense to do X or Y. I'm like, I can understand why you've decided to do that.
Yeah.
But none of that's the norm, right?
No.
Like that's not the norm for the vast majority of people that deal with financial advisors, and that's crazy. Like, why wouldn't you feel that with the advisor that you sit down with? You should be able to feel it. Like you're gonna bare your soul about like your finances, which is such an emotional thing. Like you should be able to feel that level of comfort. A lot of people don't.
No.
Where do you think we're going wrong with that? What do you think financial planners are doing in those initial meetings that actually prevents that from being the outcome?
Really, really simple. It's a sales process. I think a lot of people get into financial services and I got into it for probably the wrong reason, which was initially the money, because it's quite lucrative. We get paid well for what we do. I get that. I kind of fell into it and then just got caught up in the big corporate machine of, what if you want to clients? You need to have a Mercedes, you need to have a nice car, you need to have a nice suit, you need to have all this kind of stuff. And it's just money, money, money. And you're in money all the time. And it becomes a sales process. And you're just pushing numbers through the sales process. Not everywhere. I'll caveat that, but like the big corporate machine is just about transaction and pushing numbers through the system.
Do you think it's also in the way that you're actually asking your clients for the prospects for what they want? Are you thinking that maybe it's more like we're offering a service, like a menu system? You're not actually pushing back. It's like, okay, and next, and next, and next. It's not, I guess, deeper, a bit too surface level, maybe?
Oh, like 100%, because it's you've got the pressure of, you've got an hour and a half to deal with this client, then you've got 2 hours to write your report, then you've got your next appointment in, then you've got another one after that. And you've got to be ultra, ultra efficient. You don't have time to really dig into what clients want and need.
What do you think the ideal time is for that first meeting? Do you think there should be a time limit on it?
Oh, man. I don't think an hour's long enough. If you want to do a superficial transactional advice, yes, you can do it in an hour. If you want to do meaningful behavioral coaching, planning, deep relationship building, life-changing stuff, you cannot do that in an hour. It's impossible. You just can't do it. Like, for me, I'll have a 15, 20-minute conversation with a client. but the benefit of using social media, which I'm sure we're going to come on to, they've seen me a lot and they understand what I'm about, what I do, how I work and all that kind of stuff. So you've broken a lot of the ice straight away. And then you can have a 50-minute conversation focused on them. What do you want to get out of this? Like, why is this important to you? Why does it matter? The soft facts that we were kind of trained to do years ago, like I mean, even the fact that you call it soft facts and you've got to write like a half a page of notes, it's just nuts.
Yeah. Do you think the social media stuff that almost prepares them to come into an initial meeting with you with an open mind to talk about deeper stuff rather than I've got a pension and I want to save this much?
Oh, well, like 100%.
Yeah.
It makes such a difference. And the more you do it and the better you get with your content and the more it is genuinely, authentically, and I hate that word, it's not authentically me, but like, you get what I mean? Like, if it's authentically me, in that meeting, they know exactly what they're going to get. And it's funny because some clients are like, it's so weird seeing you on camera and I'm actually talking to you when you're sat at the same background as what I see in all your videos.
Yeah.
Well, there's that weird thing, isn't there, that, celebrities say it's really odd that when we look at celebrities or we see them in the street, we're just like, oh my goodness, this person's there. And we feel like we know them because we see them all the time. They don't know us at all. So for them, it's really weird. But what you're doing is building credibility, or you're building the ability for people to get to know you and what you talk like, who you are, before they've even ever spoken to you. So I think that's really powerful. Just rewinding a little bit.
Yes, I was going to
back a little bit.
I want to just start by, if you can, for people who don't know you, what do you do? Because you wear a few different hats and you've got different kind of channels of interest. Do you want to give a bit of an overview of, Ian Dempsey professionally?
Yeah, of course. So I operate as an IFA under a network, but I also have a separate business, which is the Money Man, which is the whole branding piece, which is financial coaching and financial planning. That's the social media face of what we do. But I use that as a tool to help and support as many clients as possible. What that also does is then funnel those clients through to the regulated part of the business. So if they do need financial advice, there's a clear defined process of, this is the regulated side, this is the independent financial advice, this is how we work, this is what we do, this is how we do it. And I built that business off the back of social media and started in lockdown because like everybody's diary just vaporized overnight. And you're like, it's only going to be 2 weeks and we're back to work. But it just went on and on and on. And I got really nervous as part of the place where I was employed and thinking, no one's writing business. If you work in financial services for any length of time, you've been through redundancies. You can see the writing on the wall. And I'm like, this isn't going to end well. I need to get prepared for what's coming next. And really jumped into LinkedIn. Just jumped into it to the right time. And interestingly, like I said off air, I went to like a financial influencer event. A lot of these guys started at the same time. And it was lockdown. Because all of a sudden, everybody sat home with a family. There's this pandemic of people dying and people being ill, and all of a sudden it just sharpens everyone's focus. I think, well, I haven't got to focus on the day job. I need to think the bigger picture stuff. And a lot of it was about money. If you talk to any will writer, any kind of estate planner during that period of time, and that's probably the busiest time I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
So
go on.
I was saying at the beginning, what went well for you and what didn't go so well when you first started out? Is there any sort of insight you can share with anybody who is thinking about jumping in? Don't do this, do this.
You mean on the regulated or on the social media stuff, or both?
Well, it was both, one and the same thing initially.
Was it?
Yeah. And it's only over time that I've decided to split it out and just to have a little bit of flexibility, I guess that is probably the right way to decide. Flexibility on my process, flexibility at what I do. But like, there was lots of stuff that I did wrong. There was lots to learn from. But I think, and I was thinking about this in the car on the way up, like what would be, if I could start it all again, what would I do differently? And I think technology's improved massively now. You've got AI at the forefront of a lot of what we do in financial services. I don't think it's quite the level that it could be at, but we'll get there eventually. That can play a massive part in what you do. Like everyone's used to social media now. LinkedIn, when I first got started, was, you just post about your jobs. And most of my audience was financial advisors. And I remember reaching out to somebody at the time. I found a trainer, not a coach, who was going to train me on how to use LinkedIn. And the first thing she said on the call is, I'm not going to teach you how to get leads. I'm going to teach you how to get a personal brand. I was like, that's a lot of rubbish. Like, I'm a numbers guy. I want to make money, pay the bills and all the rest of it. But she just kept badgering away. She's like, come on, write some content. I'm like about what? Like, I've just had beans on toast for me today because you think it's Instagram stuff, aren't you? And I'm like, no, I can't do that. She's right. Then we had another session. Write some stuff down about what you do. And then she kind of reworded it, sent it back, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's quite interesting. Then all of a sudden the penny dropped and I just started posting. But going back to your question, the tools that you have at your disposal now are so much more powerful than they were when I first got started, because you can analyze your competition, you can analyze people that are already doing it, you can analyze the algorithms, you can look at each platform, like all the data and stuff is around that, and you can get access to that fairly quickly. The analytics that sit behind not so much LinkedIn, TikTok and Instagram is insane. You can put a post on one of those platforms, and within 24 to 48 hours, you can see why it worked, how it worked, what point people dropped off, what kind of editing style will work. Again, just building up over a period of time, getting experience of it. But there's no better time to start. And we're still in financial services so far behind the curve.
Yeah.
So far behind.
I was wondering, was it ever your intention to create content just for your clients, or was it always for anybody who, you know, might want some form of financial education or to educate themselves in one of the many areas you kind of talk about? Yeah.
Initially, it was to pay the bills.
Right.
Because like lockdown happened and then redundancy came, and I'm like, my original plan was to go self-employed probably about August, September time. And lockdown came, was it the March when we all went into lockdown? By then, we'd already been told we were going to get made redundant. So at the start of March, I was made redundant. And I'm like, I've got to jump in this both feet now. And I've just got to go for it. And I just threw myself into it for like 3 months. And it was initially the kind of content that I thought people wanted to read. And it was only text at this point in time. But then people started responding, then I started getting leads through, and I'm like, oh, actually, this is resonating with a lot of people. But then I kind of had 3 successful months, which are just consecutively the best months I ever had, and just felt empty.
Oh, interesting.
Like, I just felt like, and I can remember it, like, I've said this on a few occasions. I remember I went out for a game of golf in the morning, did a post on LinkedIn in the morning, and this is how powerful it was at the time. By the time I'd finished my round of golf, I had 12 leads from that one post. Came back home. It was the same day that all my fees landed for that month. And there was no one else in the house, and just sat on the sofa. And I'm like, this doesn't feel any different. This is everything that I've pushed for and wanted for the last how many years I've been in financial services, to have my own business, to make these kind of numbers, to have a consistent stream of leads. And I just felt empty. And then I started to realize that it was about a lot more than just paying the bills. It was about purpose and drive and impact. And now it's a lot more about the impact side of things. But what I've shifted the focus onto being purpose-led, and it's made a massive difference to the content that I put out. But then I've had to expand to other channels, try using those as well. And it just, it's an ever-evolving piece.
And what at the moment then would you say is your purpose? What's in the back of your mind that behind the content you're producing is, I want to make sure I'm doing this?
Help as many people to make better financial decisions as possible. I think that's what we should. We've got a responsibility in the financial services industry, not just to deal with the high net worth and the ones that can pay the bills, to help as many people as possible. Because like with LinkedIn, okay, there's an assumed level of education. So you're going to assume you're dealing with professionals on the so-called professional network. That one probably understand pensions. What you realize on the other channels, especially someone like TikTok, people don't.
Scary, isn't it? When you see some of the comments on things on TikTok and you think, I can't believe they're thinking to do that or to invest in that or to, you know, it's scary actually.
And that's and that's the vast majority of people. They just don't understand tax relief. They don't understand pensions. They don't understand investment funds. Pensions are scams. Pensions are rip-off. Pensions are this. And like we said at the start, like there's still such a big level of mistrust in the regulated space because of the endowment scams, because of like the defined benefit pension advice that hasn't been correct over the years. There's a massive amount of mistrust from the general public. And a lot of them kind of, like some of the comments you get are wild. Like they'll be like, I don't trust you bankers. And that's the kind version of it, right? Don't trust what you've said. Don't trust this, blah, 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 blah. You're a rip-off merchant. You're this, you're that. And you're like, wow.
Yeah, I've seen the Facebook groups, you know, the financial independence, retire early groups. And, you know, you read the comments, and anytime anyone in financial services comments in there, just giving some actual genuine guidance or a steer, it's, you know, disclose your profession. It's like, wow. Okay.
But you think you can't blame these people though. Like if you look at the media and you look at what has happened and how people have really felt frustrated and misled, that you would be apprehensive about anybody coming in and saying, no, you've got this wrong. You've got to do this, because I think we're making a lot of moves now within the profession. We don't wear suits and things like that. It's trying to differentiate ourselves from,
salesmen of the days gone by.
Yeah. But it must be hard when you're trying to make content in an unregulated space to have some credibility. I mean, we know that you've got credibility, but somebody who doesn't understand the profession is, how do I know that I could trust you and not a young guy who's like 18 who looks like me? Yeah, and is making a video about it. Also, not that you're not a young guy, you're an incredibly young guy. I mean, child. That's
a good recovery, that was.
That was a recovery, wasn't
it?
I was talking about like 18-year-olds who you see, like the finfluencers. You go, well, they look like me, they talk like me, they must understand what I'm going through. I'm sure that's a challenge to try and make content that gets through to those people.
Yeah, it's huge, but I think that content's already out there. There's people out there in that space and that generation that are finding this information. They're finding this information from their friends because they're talking about finances, they're talking about money, because they're coming up in a world where they've got the internet and all this information in the palm of their hand. They can find out the majority of the information that we hold as financial planners and financial advisors. And I think the old guard financial advisors, in my opinion, have done a very good job of gatekeeping that information for far too long. And this is why there's a massive amount of mistrust. Anybody, you could go and set up a stock and shares ISA. Anybody. You could go and do it tomorrow. You could probably do it on some of the platforms. You could be set up within 5 minutes. Are you going to understand where to pick the funds? Probably not. But could you make a relatively educated guess by spending an hour of your time looking at different options and trying to figure it all out and trying to understand it? Probably. A lot of financial advisors charge for that kind of stuff. And that's insane. They will charge you thousands of pounds to set that up when you could just go and set it up with a Vanguard or a Hargreaves Lansdown or whatever platform it is. You can go and do that yourself.
That's where robo-advice is coming in now, isn't it, largely?
Interestingly, with robo-advice, having a conversation with someone around, like when I was in banking, it was robo-advice is the next big thing. I was pre-RDR and it said, we're going to get rid of all of our advisors and we're going to requalify you and you're going to have to give a higher standard of advice. So the whole advice space, I think, was like 200,000 qualified advisors, shrunk down to like 20,000. It's probably like 23,000 now. And all of these people had to requalify. A lot of them didn't want to step out of the industry. Robo-advice is going to be the next big thing. Robo-advice is going to come in. Robots are going to take your job. They haven't. They haven't. Nowhere even near. But I was having a conversation with someone else who's ex-regulated, and he said there was a platform that he consulted with to help them set up the robo-advice platform. Massive interest at the start. 50,000 people signed up for this platform. And I think there was something like 50 people actually went through the process to actually have advice implemented, because a lot of people still need that human touch. They still need that human touch, but you can get a balance between the two. And I think it's an incredibly interesting space where that part of the market's going to evolve. And I think robo-advice and a human element of it and AI and technology, it's ripe for someone to come in and do it properly and to build that trust back and have a much bigger impact than kind of what's been happening at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, because you're on various platforms, which platforms are you finding are working for you really well? And what demographic of client is actually coming out of that to talk to you?
Demographic, every single one.
Really?
Oh, really?
Everyone. And that really surprised me.
Yeah.
So I started off on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn, you don't quite get the demographic and analytical data until those clients come through to you and you start putting the fact, then you can start seeing it. And it is the kind of, I guess, the higher net worth area, or people that just want help setting up a pension as a one-off bit of advice, fine, no problem. But then something in the back of my head is like, just try TikTok, just try Instagram, try getting the wheels turning, and kind of just start with using it. And with those other two platforms, you get so much analytical data behind. You can see exactly the demographics. And after 3-4 months of consistently posting on TikTok, and it was a lot of content which was going out and it was brutal, I had masses of data that I could look at. And surprisingly, a lot of the people that were interacting with me were 45 plus.
Wow.
I think it was like 19 or 20% of them were something like 50 to 55.
On TikTok?
That is interesting.
Some of the highest value leads I've had come through. I've had, I obviously won't name, I've had like high court judges come through TikTok.
No way.
I've had business owners with multiple business portfolios, buy-to-let properties come through TikTok.
Yeah.
If you don't think these guys are on TikTok, you're sadly mistaken.
That
honestly,
that's blown my
is
mind.
mad.
Myth busting.
I actually think that's an excellent place for us to take a quick break and leave you all with the thought that these people on TikTok. So think on. We'll be back with you in just a second. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of That NextGen Planners Podcast. Just as a quick interval in the episode, I wanted to remind you of a couple of very, very cool things we've got coming up in our NextGen Planners community. The first is the launch of the brand new Kinder Institute Hub on the community, filled with exclusive content by George Kinder himself, who is going to be speaking at our NextGen Planners Elements Conference 2025 in July. He's got his own stage. He's got his own space. You're not going to want to miss it. Hopefully see you there. All the information on how to get tickets, how to attend will be on www.nextgenplanners.co.uk. Without further ado, let's head back to the episode.
Hello, and we're back with the wonderful Ian Dempsey. And just the intermission, we were kind of talking a little bit about curating your feeds and how do you get the most out of the social media platforms that you work with. Do you want to kick us off a little bit with how you've done that?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first got started, I really tried to think about where my ideal client was and who my ideal client is. And everybody says, paint the avatar of your ideal client. I didn't have a clue. But then I started really looking back over the last 10 or 15 years of being a financial advisor at the time. Who are the types of clients that I want to deal with? Not necessarily the most lucrative ones, but who are the types of client that I want to deal with? And it came down to business owners and company directors. And it came down to simply because they know the value of advice. They've got a reasonable understanding of what that process and what's involved in that. And they're happy to pay for it and they want it done yesterday. Mm-hmm. And it was a really good fit for me at that point in time. But what I had to do was really look at what my network was made up of. And at the time, like most people that start on LinkedIn, it was a jobs platform, wasn't it? It was like, I'll put my CV on there. Every job I ever applied for, I got through LinkedIn from recruiters. And it's still a very good platform for that. But I had to strip out all this financial advice and kind of, well, you're not going to be my ideal client. I don't want to be in an echo chamber of hundreds of financial advisors. And I'm talking about advice and this, that, and the other. And the second reason I'll say that is, and this is going to be quite controversial, some of the old guard in financial services will tear anybody down that wants to do anything.
I see it a lot, yeah.
I get it a lot. And even people that are in the same network of where I work have done that to me. And I'm like, I've got a fairly thick skin now with being on social media for like however many years, but there are lots of people that I know that I've just given up on social media because of that old boys club.
Which is really
It's
sad.
really interesting because if I look at my LinkedIn, I've thought of this before. Mine is very financial advisor heavy. And so if I was to look at LinkedIn with everything you've just said in the first half, I'd be thinking, well, as soon as I put something up, it's going to get torn to shreds by other people in the industry. But then if I'm going to use LinkedIn as a way to attract new clients, they are not the people that should be on my LinkedIn. So I found it really interesting that you had to do that. You had to kind of cleanse what you're wanting to use.
You've got the best of both of social media in just what you've summed up there, because what I love about social media is you can curate your feed for exactly the kind of person that you want to kind of come through that feed. But you can also get rid of anybody that isn't. And if you don't like them, the block button's the best thing to do on financial
I was about to ask, what did that look like? Was it just blocking? Was it unfollowing?
Anybody that is just a bit of a dick, so to speak, I'll just block them.
Yeah.
I'll be like, right, block, done.
Yeah.
And I had one guy a couple of weeks ago absolutely off it about something that I put, and he went on a massive rant. And the only reason I found out is because somebody messaged me, he's like, this guy's gone completely off on you because you blocked him. And I'm like, it's not my problem.
Yeah.
So is this like it's not necessarily a disconnect, it's an unfollow, stop getting the notifications, sort of fine tune the feed and what you're
cut them out.
Oh, you have actually cut them out.
Brutal, yeah,
Cut them
gone.
out.
They are gone.
Or they're going to pay my bills, or they're going to advance my career further. Like, there's other places where you can get that community and get that knowledge with the right people. NextGen's one of them, 100% it is. There are other Facebook communities. There are other local groups you can be involved with. There are people that you've known as colleagues over the years that are probably the right advisors that you've known. Like, we'll have all worked with advisors over the years that you think, he's a bit of a dick. Or you just kind of think, they're exactly the kind of person that I want to be like, you know?
And I guess then they're still controlling the industry if we are letting those type of people and stop people posting that kind of content or going, well, that's not exactly right, so don't post anything at all. And that's giving them all the power. And that's exactly the opposite of what we want to happen. But
they're going to catch up too late. will catch up too late. Like, what are the, I can't remember what the stats are now, but I think it's the average age of advice is like 58 or something like that, right? Those guys are gone soon. They're going to either be selling their client bags and they're going to be out of the industry, or they're going to be still in the industry and still struggling to get leads.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't get any leads, because they're trying all the traditional stuff. They're not trying the new version of it and the new way to do things. And if you come across those as a younger advisor and you come across like we said, those review meetings that you talked about off air, like, how's the wife? How's the kids? There's your review document. Thanks very much. See you in 12 months' time. If you're going that step further and really deepening that relationship, you've got a client for life. And
so I'm curious, because this has actually happened to me on LinkedIn before. I've had a pale, stale, male comment on a status that I wrote. And the worst thing was, it was just to correct my spelling. And I remember how much it triggered me at the time. And it reminded me why I really struggle with posting, because I have quite a big fear about the content that I put out. And I really struggle with the idea of even putting a video. I've done it once and it was really scary. And I'm so lucky that I've got a WhatsApp group of some amazing girls behind me and some women's networks. And they've been really supportive with that and liked it. And it made me feel great. But when you don't have that, and then you get someone come out of the woodwork who's not even a connection of yours and post a little comment on there, literally something as trivial as commenting on a spelling mistake. What's your advice for somebody who really struggles with imposter syndrome and fear and just all of that stuff? Because that's what's preventing a lot of us from actually getting out there in the first place.
A couple of things. First of all, that's a reflection of them, not you. You've got the block button that's there for a reason. Just block them, get rid of. You don't owe that person anything at all. If that person wants to criticize the content that you're putting out, fair play to them. They're right. Stop arguing with idiots online. Like, you can't. You're not going to change their mind about anything that they want. They've got an opinion of you. You've got an opinion of them. So what? Done. Block them. But what I also appreciate is that can be incredibly difficult for some people to get over that hump. Because if you are posting consistently and all of a sudden you're getting criticism on almost a daily basis from people that just want to tear into you, that's hard. That's very, very hard to get over. So then you go back to how you curating your feed. Who are you connected with? Who are you connected with in that list of 300, 400, 500 people that are getting access to your content because it'll be through one of those people, i.e. they're connected to one of those individuals? Do you want that kind of person in your network? Strip them out. Curate your feed, block them, get rid of them, start again. Like, the first time I ever put content out, it was terrible. And it's always going to be terrible. And this was, when I was at one of the larger networks, we had somebody come in and deliver some training about LinkedIn. And he came in on the first day and said, I'm only 2 steps ahead of you, but we're going to go through. And he had a yellow pages book for each of us folder. This is how you use LinkedIn. Give it all to us. And I'm like, that's horrendous. Like, I've never used LinkedIn before, but I was reading that. I was like, that is awful.
He printed out.
So he basically constructed this training program, put it in front of us and said, this is how we use LinkedIn. I'm 2 steps ahead of you, but I'm going to show you what I'm doing and you're going to learn how to do it. But something inside of me was like, that's the wrong way to do it, but it's incredibly powerful. There's no wrong way to do this stuff, but eventually you'll find your way and fall into the flow and the way that you want to kind of deliver your content, and you'll find the right people.
Would you want to do it more, do you think?
I think I do. I think I've got massive imposter syndrome and also perfectionism issues massively. So I think that's also a barrier for me starting in the first place.
I'm exactly the same. I'm exactly the same. But done is better than perfect.
Yes, I've been told this.
This has been my motto for this year.
And that's hard, right? But then, like, I'm at the point now where I'm like, I'm running at such a pace with all the social media stuff. I haven't got time to get things perfect. And if something's wrong or doesn't quite land right, just hit the delete button.
That's a good point, isn't it? Like, you can start and you can just delete the past in some ways, as long as someone's not downloaded it and stored it.
All right, let's do a little exercise then. So that video that you were going to put out.
Yeah.
There's a guy called, is it Vin Giang? He's an Australian speaking coach. And he coaches people how to kind of engage better online and talk and public speaking things. And he said you do 3 tests when you put that video out. First of all, you watch it without any sound on. What's your body language like? Do you like it?
Yeah.
Secondly, you then listen to it without watching it. And then the third one, and I think it was the third one, he said, leave it for 24 hours and go back and watch the 2 of them together. Would you change it? And if you change it, then change it. If you wouldn't, post it.
That's interesting.
You're checking, and I think there's such a difficult thing. Like when you have that camera in front of you, all of a sudden your whole personality changes, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
And it's like, oh, I need to be like Hugh Edwards. Terrible example. Right?
Yeah.
I need to be like a newsreader, and I don't know why I said that, but you need to be like this ultra professional, ultra slick person on camera. No, you don't.
No.
Like when I first started, for me, it was like I don't even want to look at editing. I don't even want to figure out how that works or anything. I'm going to do it in one take.
Mm-hmm.
And I would spend 20 minutes, half an hour recording a video, and that's just me looking straight down the camera and being like, right, focus. Any slip up, I'll be like, start again.
Mm.
But then I kind of started experimenting with editing. Editing makes such a difference.
Yeah, so that's one of the things. Like I always try to go one take, just get the whole thing. And it takes about 20 to even get there because I just can't be trusted to say sentences properly.
So you're producing a lot of stuff and then putting it together into something. So you're editing it into what you want.
Yeah, not a lot of the stuff that I'm putting out is brand new. Like I've been putting out content for 5 years, and a lot of the stuff is just repurposing it.
Okay.
So if I wrote a written post, that could then become a video.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a shorter written post. That could then be a carousel. That could then be used as a tweet. It's not a tweet anymore, is it?
I think it still is a tweet, even though it's X.
But then
I think
there's just 5 versions of that, and then in 6 months' time, I could go back and do exactly the same thing again. But it will be better this time because I've learned 6 months of experience of doing that, and you've learned from that bit of content you put out in the first place.
That's a really interesting thing to think about, because obviously if it's good content and useful, it will still be good content and useful 6 months later, and people will want to hear it again because our attention spans are so limited that you'll probably forget you've seen it anyway. So you don't actually need to have the pressure of going, well, I need something completely new that's no one knows about. And so looking forward then for you, where do you want to take it? Like what do you see your future looking like?
That's a tough one to answer. And the reason I say that is I flipped from one extreme to the other. And I flipped from one extreme to the other of, I've got a great business that I can walk 10 feet down the garden and I can shut whenever I want and walk up and I'm buying the house. And to me, that was exactly why I set the business up in the first place, is to have that flexibility that if the kids want me to drop something off at school, or I want to go and take the dogs out for a walk at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I can go and do that. And then what tends to happen is I end up getting really busy, and this is not just about getting clients. Social media will open opportunities that you never thought were possible. Like I was on a podcast with the FT advisor a couple of weeks back, and that's not me being shown off, but I'm like, that's insane. The FT advisor saw a bit of content. I'm like, yeah, why don't you come down and have a chat with us? I'm like, this is nuts. But like, it'll open up opportunities that you just never thought were possible. And I go from that to, as those opportunities build and build and build, I'm like, just sit back every now and again. Normally I've had a beer in the pub and I'm just completely like switched off from it all. I'm like, take over the world. And I'm like, and then my mind just starts like going, and I'm like, yeah, take over the world. How do I do this? And then just go into hyperdrive again, hyper focus mode. And then it's like, do I really want that? And the answer is I don't know. But what I did do, I had qualified as a coach last year. As part of that, I was coached through the process. And I've given myself permission to park it till the end of the year and just let everything unfold. And that was really powerful. It's just taking the pressure off and saying, right, at the end of this year, you're going to make a decision. And that decision might just be, I need another 12 months. Or it might be, take over the world. Or it might be something different. Or it might just be carry on doing what you do in the bottom of your garden.
Yeah. And I guess if you keep going back to what you said right at the beginning of like, I want to help people make better decisions with their money and improve their lives. If that's always your driving force behind all of it, then it can't be the wrong decision. And it's exciting, and there's so much scope for more people to do it as well. Like I feel like even in this conversation, there's not like, oh well, Clara, don't post. Like this is my space. I'm only going to do it. It's like, yeah, you do this, and everybody. We could use a bit more financial education in social media, and clearly, if the 6-year-olds are on TikTok, we've been looking at it.
It's justified now as a marketing expense.
Is it?
Well, no, if your ideal client is now on these platforms, setting aside that time and that resource to actually doing it is now a justified marketing expense for most businesses, isn't it, really?
If anybody's listening to it, like realistically, if you're a one man or a one woman band and that's all you're ever going to be, how many clients do you think you can look after realistically? 150, 200, absolute top end, depending on how high maintenance they are. But even then, that's a lot of hard work. There's millions of people out there looking for financial advice, and there's millions of people out there looking for advice from you and your personality and the way that you do it and how you deliver that advice and support. All you got to do is find them. And you only need to find 200 of them. And if you do it well enough, you'll have thousands of them all of a sudden pour through the door and you'll be like, oh, hang on a minute. Do I just build up a certain point? And this is kind of where we're getting to, is do I build to a point of close the doors, thanks very much, I'm done? Or do you then start bringing other people into the fold to kind of do it the way that you do, but with their own personality added to that as well?
What do you do? So you kind of led to a question I wanted to ask you actually, which is what do you do with leads that come through your social channels? Because they can't all be perfect and they can't all be right for advice. So people that think they want advice, but they're not suitable for you to give them advice. How do you deal with them?
I mean, it's a great problem to have, first of all. And I think, and I sometimes fall into this trap as well. You think if I get a viral post on social media, it's going to go nuts and I'm going to have thousands and thousands of leads. No, you're not. That's not the reality. That's not how it works. You might have 10, 12, 20, which is still a lot to deal with on top of the day job. Originally, it would be I'll have a 10-minute, 15-minute call with everybody. And let's just see. But some of those people weren't quite right. Over time, when I've built the voice of it and what I talk about, it's almost kind of pushing out some of the people that aren't quite ready for advice. But that's when it involved me to do what I do with the coaching and the planning side of things, which is actually sometimes these guys just need a bit of guidance. They might want a one-off session with somebody just to understand how they get out of debt. Are their pensions in the right place? What else could they be doing differently? Not advice, coaching and conversations and questions to help them come to that own conclusion. That's incredibly powerful. But that now we're going to another layer and we're building the marketing system around all that to be able to offer something for everybody. And I think historically in the financial advice space, it would be, you want to take clients on over X amount of wealth because you can generate X amount of fees and you can do all of these other things. What I think is going to happen is, and Gary Vaynerchuk said this a while back, he said, you're going to have guys and girls sat in their bedrooms running £10 million businesses, 3 or 4 of them scattered around the country. And I think that's absolutely spot on. Because what you could do is you could offer your services to many people at a very low price point, but you could only necessarily take clients on at that and that are going to pay the bills and do everything that you want. But those clients will get a massive amount of value as you, as an experienced advisor with a massive amount of knowledge and a massive amount of experience that they just don't have at this point in time, that they're getting from the influencing space. There's a massive gap there.
Is this more like webinars or that kind of thing? So have this following and offer out, a session to many? Or is this more an interactive?
NextGen. It's exactly what NextGen are doing. Like that done properly with the right people will have a massive impact on the wealth gap. I bang the drum on this all the time. And there's 4 other people that I'm kind of working with. We think exactly the same thing. That actually this is an opportunity to bridge that wealth gap and help as many people understand pensions, investing, money management, debt, mortgages, the whole lot, but actually still get paid for it.
Yeah. Last question on this before I'm going to ask you to set a question for our next guest.
Okay.
But for people who are wanting to get in this space, like you were however many years ago now, going, but what do I write about? I had beans on toast. Do I write that? Where do I find what I should talk about? They're already talking about that. Where do I start? What's my place? Was there advice that the person who was coaching you through that gave that you could share, or just some advice that you've learned along the way about how to begin that process?
Who's your ideal client? Why? And get really clear on that and reflect on the conversations that you've had with those clients over the years that you've maybe been in financial services. If you're new, that's quite challenging. I get that. But if you've got years of experience and want to go into social media, how do you help those clients? If you've ever done a mind map, when you write down who your ideal client is and a spider diagram, just write it all down on a sheet of paper and spend some real time doing it. You're not going to get it all done in one go. Take a couple of days, couple of weeks, whatever it takes, write all that stuff down. What you need to then realize is the knowledge that we've got as financial professionals is significantly higher than the vast majority of the public. Even people in well-educated positions still don't necessarily understand the stuff that we do. Break that stuff down. Just start putting value out there. Don't worry about the bills. Don't worry about the clients coming in. They will come afterwards. Just start putting out the value. Explain tax relief on a pension. Explain higher rate tax relief on a pension. Explain how you lose your personal allowance over a certain amount. Explain how life insurance works. And just keep starting to do stuff. And then eventually you'll land at something like, oh, that worked. double down on it, do more of it. Refine it, tweak it. That worked even better. Keep going. And I think if anybody that's starting, you need to pick one platform. If you try and do all of them, you will drown and you will sink very, very quickly. It's very hard to manage more than one platform if you're on your own. Pick one, dive into it, and just give it a shot. And if after, and I'm going to say 6 to 12 months is what you really need to do it, consistently, and consistently could just be 3 days a week. It doesn't have to be if you want to go every day, amazing. If you want to go 3 times a day, even better, because you'll get there much quicker. But if you just want to do 3 times a week, start there, dive in, start posting this stuff, breaking down key financial concepts that people can understand. And then all of a sudden you'll start getting clients. It's just time.
Amazing. Great advice for everybody out there who's watching or listening to the podcast. But for our next guest, now it's your time to set them a question instead of answering all of our questions we've thrown at you now.
Okay.
So for our next guest, what would you like them to answer? How would you like us to start our next podcast?
Ooh, it would probably be, how would we fill the wealth gap in the UK?
And that is the perfect question to ask our next guest, Laura Pomfret, who will be here very soon. So I'm very excited to see what she'll say to that. But for now, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a brilliant conversation. Thank you, my wonderful co-host.
You're welcome.
And thank you to everybody who has been watching or listening to this episode. We will be back very soon with more episodes on That NextGen Planners Podcast. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode of the NextGen Planners Podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, you can find all of our previous episodes on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and on our website. Also, there is where you can find even more information about our brilliant community. And finally, if you can, do leave us a review. It really does help to grow the podcast.